Hello students, I Mrs. Usha Vasani welcome you all to RKC Online Social Studies class. I hope you all must have watched the video of the temperature zones of the world chapter number 4 part 1. As I told you in the previous video that I have divided this revision video in two parts for your better understanding. So in the previous part, we have studied half of the chapter, and today in part 2, we are going to study basically about the temperature zones of the world. So let's get going. Students, let us know what would be today's learning objectives. Today's learning objective would be to understand the various factors which influence the climate of a place, to learn about three temperature or heat zones of the world, and the temperature zones are the torrid zone, the temperate zone, and the frigid zone. So before understanding different temperature zones, let us first understand what are the various factors which influence the climate of a place. And I would say that before understanding the factors, let us first understand what is the difference between weather and climate. It's very confusing. Many of you may not be knowing the difference between weather and climate. So let us make it clear that what is weather and how it is different from climate. Students, now let's recap a bit of learning from the previous video, that is the difference between the weather and climate. Weather can be defined as the condition of atmosphere over a short period or a given place and at a given time. The climate of a place is the average weather condition over a long period of time. A place may be said to have a dry climate, a very cold climate, or a hot, wet climate, depending on the weather conditions over a very long period of time. For example, say 30 years at least. Climate affects the plants and animals and the way people live, have their food, and wear clothes. The atmosphere is affected by conditions of air temperature, air pressure, wind, humidity, and rainfall. On the other hand, climate consists of the average weather conditions that are present over a long area and for a long period of time. The weather in a place can change in few hours or a few days, as it is affected by the wind, sun's rays, temperature, humidity, rain at a particular time. So, the weather is a temporary state of atmospheric conditions. It may change in a few hours or a few days. The climate of a place remains same for 30 to 40 years and may be hot, cold, rainy, or dry. It may not remain the same throughout the year and thus gives rise to the seasons. So, I have made or shown on your screen the difference between climate and weather. That is, I may ask you some short questions or choose the correct option or fill in the blanks related to the difference of climate and weather. Here is a chart which is showing climate versus weather. Now, climate is what you expect, whereas weather is what you get. the average weather conditions of a particular region is dependent on the previous marking or noting of almost 30 years, whereas the condition of the troposphere at a particular time and place changes from day to day. Maybe sunny, windy, cloudy, snowy or rainy. Children, if you are seeing news in TV, you just note or observe that in news channels they always say weather forecast. Have you ever heard climate forecast? No. It is always a weather forecast, means you can forecast the weather because it is a temporary condition. Now today when I am preparing this video, though it is afternoon, today's weather is cloudy weather, but we all know that this is not a rainy season. So weather can be forecasted, and so only in news channels they forecast weather. That is, recent it is sunny weather, today it is cloudy weather, or yesterday it was very foggy weather. That is the way they forecast about the weather. So this is the basic difference between climate and weather. Then we studied about some of the factors that affect the climate of a place, because basically today we are going to talk about different temperature zones of the world and how is that temperature decided. This temperature is decided on the climatic condition, and for the climate there are various factors that affect the climate or that makes the climate of a place. We studied in the previous video, but we are doing a very short and quick glance about what we studied. We studied about the factors like distance of a place, how much it is close or away from equator, that is on what latitude it is situated. Then we studied about the altitude, where is the place located, where it is at a height. I had given you one example also, that the desert, I gave you the example of Rajasthan. Rajasthan has Thar desert, as we all know, and also Mount Abu is a part of Rajasthan. But as it is at a hill, it is on the mountain, so it is a hill station, and also they are not very far away from each other, but they have difference in their temperature because of the location. Rajasthan is located at the low level, whereas Abu is located on mountain. So again, the factor affecting climate of those two places is their altitude, the height. Then the distance from sea, how is the place away or closer to sea, depending on that. Then the direction of winds also matter. The humidity means the amount of moisture present in atmosphere that makes the place humid. So humidity also is one of the factors. Then comes the ocean currents. Now all these factors together decide the climate of the place. There are different types of climates also. On the basis of the prevailing climatic conditions, the earth can be divided into few major climatic divisions, and the main types of climate are monsoon climate or tropical climate. Equatorial climate means the place, if it is found or located near to the climate, it has hot and humid climate throughout the year. So equatorial climate. Then the desert climate, it is found, means this type of climate is found generally in the hot deserts. Then the continental climate, Continental type of climate is found in the interior of continents which are away from the sea, and so there the summers are extremely hot and winters are extremely cold. Then we have moderate or maritime climate. This type of climate means it is neither very hot nor very cold, and the places located near sea coast have this type of climate, that is moderate or maritime climate. Then we also talked about the tundra climate. The tundra region, that is in Russia, is extremely cold and it is near to the polar region. Most of the regions remains under ice and snow throughout the year. So that is tundra climate. And one more is Mediterranean climate. In this type of climate, winters are wet, that is even there is rainfall during winter season, and summers are hot and dry. So this type of climate is found near the Mediterranean Sea. Now today we are going to talk about the climatic zones of the earth. The entire earth can be divided into basically 3 climatic or heat zones depending upon the temperature and rainfall received in this area. So today we are going to study in detail about this. The temperature zones are determined basically by the amount of sunlight received by a region. Since the earth is shaped like a sphere, different parts of the earth receive different amounts of sunlight. I hope children you understand what I am trying to tell, that sun is stagnant at its place, but it's the earth who keeps on rotating on its axis and also revolving on its orbit. If you remember, we have studied about this in the previous chapter, that is movements of the earth, that earth rotates on its axis, means it keeps on rotating also, as well as along with that movement it also revolves around the sun. So different parts of the earth receive different amount of sunlight depending on its revolution around the sun. Now based on the intensity of the heat received from the sun by a particular place, the earth has been divided into 3 temperature or heat zones. The different heat zones are named as the torrid zone, the temperate zone and the frigid zone. The important latitudes help in explaining these zones. So let us understand all the 3 zones in detail. Let us talk about the torrid zone first. The torrid zone is also known as the hot zone. It is the hottest zone on the surface of the earth as it receives the direct rays of sun. This zone extends from the Tropic of Cancer, that is 23.5 degree north, to 23.5 degree south, that is Tropic of Capricorn. The zone has a tropical climate since it receives sunlight throughout the year. There is not much difference between the summer and winter season here. But as we move away from the equator, the season becomes different. See children, you can see on the slide the picture of earth is given and the red part is the torrid zone, means it is the color depicts heat. Okay, this time in your exam we are not going to ask you to draw or color any diagram, but if after some time, if we have regular physical classes, definitely I'm going to take a test of this drawing, because you should know the color, which color depicts what. So here the red color, torrid zone. See, 0 degree is equator. Now above the equator is northern hemisphere, and below 0, that is southern hemisphere. So it is written 23.5 degree north, that is Tropic of Cancer, and 23.5 degrees south, that latitude is known as Tropic of Capricorn. And in between that, the red color, very much next to the equator on the north side and on the south side, is the torrid zone. Places on the equator or those very close to it gets direct rays of the sun for almost the whole year. And so this part, which is very much near to the equator, is very hot. Okay. So these areas get heavy rainfall all the year round, and the torrid zone, as I told you, it lies between Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, and due to this it is also known as tropical zone. Children, are you clear with the torrid zone? I hope you should be clear by now, and not, then you can rewind this video and see again and try to understand. Most important is to understand the torrid zone. Here what I said, in red color it depicts the heat. Red color depicts heat. Okay. So this is all about torrid zone. Now let us go to the next heat zone. Students, now let us talk about the temperate zone. First of all, look at the screen and see the temperate zone properly. Now after noticing about torrid zone, I hope you can understand the color what depicts. The color of temperate zone depicts green, and that tries to tell us that it is not as hot as torrid zone is, right? Why it is like that? Because as I told you that sun is stagnant at its place. It's the earth which keeps on revolving around the sun. Because sun is at its place, you can imagine that at 0 degree the sun is the earth gets direct rays of the sun, and so that places near to 0 degree, near to the equator, gets direct rays, so it is red in color, whereas a little above the latitude, then torrid zone receives a little slanting rays of the sun, which means that those places are not as hot as the torrid zone. Now let me explain you the location or the extent of temperate zone. First of all, temperate zone is divided into two depending on its location. The north temperate zone lies between the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree. From there it starts, students, till 66.5 degree north, that is till the Arctic Circle. While the south temperate zone lies between the Tropic of Tropic of Capricorn, 23.5 degrees south till 66.5 degrees south, and that is Antarctic Circle. As the name suggests, the places in these zones have a moderate climate, that is, they are neither very hot nor very cold. The word temperate means moderate, means the places located here are not very hot and neither very cold. These zones receive slightly slanting rays of the sun, and thus they are comparatively cool than the places lying in the torrid zone. The summer and winter seasons are very distinct here. Distinct in a sense, north temperate zone have very different climate, though south also has a temperate zone, but the area and the places located in the south temperate zone have different type of climate than the north temperate zone. That we will discuss in detail in our chapter number 7, that is the temperate zone. Here we are just getting the idea about the 3 zones of the earth, and so we will not go much in detail about it. Here the temperature is moderate, neither very hot nor very cold. So this is about the temperate zone. Now let us study about the next zone. This is the third heat zone. You can see at the top and the extreme bottom, that is lavender, or you can say light bluish in color, which depicts the coolness, and so we use this color for showing frigid zone. The frigid zone is divided into the north frigid zone extending from the Arctic Circle, that is 66.5 degree north. Children, very slowly look at the picture which is seen on your screen and then try to understand what I am explaining. Okay, so from 66.5 degree north to 90 degree north, that is North Pole, the extreme end of the North Hemisphere, and that is the northern frigid zone that extends from Arctic Circle to North Pole. Now let us talk about the South Frigid Zone. South Frigid Zone extends from 66.5 degrees south, that is Antarctic Circle, to 90 degrees south, that is South Pole. The frigid zones are extremely cold throughout the year due to the extreme slanting rays of the sun. In the previous chapter, we have read that during summer, the areas beyond the Arctic Circle have daylight for 6 months, and during the winter season, they have darkness for the 6 months. This is because of the tilt of the axis. Life here is very difficult, and in some places the ground is permanently covered with ice. Do you know, children, millions of years ago, large parts of the earth were covered with ice, and that era or that age was known as Ice Age. So children, this is all about the frigid zone. I may ask you some of the short questions, that is in the form of blank, in the form of match the column, in the form of choose the correct option. I may frame my own questions and ask you if you have heard these videos or if you have understood properly the explanation, you will be able to answer it. Okay, children? So this is all about the three different zones of the earth. Now let's recap the learning. Students, let's recap today's learning. We learnt about difference between the climate and the weather. There are 5 factors affecting the climate of a place which we studied in detail. The most important factor which determines the temperature zones is latitude, or the distance from the equator. Then we studied about the 3 different temperature zones or the heat zones of the earth. The torrid zone, which extends within the tropics, is very hot, the hottest zone of the earth. Then we studied about the temperate zone, which name itself depicts that temperate means moderate, and so it has moderate climate, meaning neither very hot nor very cold. And lastly, we studied about the frigid zone, which receives the very slanting rays of the sun, and hence it is, according to the name, frigid means the coldest zone of the earth. As always, let us sum up the whole learning with the help of a mind map. Children, this mind map will help you remember the whole chapter in a very short and easy way. So please do this mind map in your study notebook. I'll be sending the mind map picture on our ERP platform. So please do practice this mind map in your study book. So this is all about today's learning. This is all about chapter number 4, the temperature or the heat zones of the world. I hope you all must have revised this chapter with me. If you have any doubts, please repeatedly see the video. Your doubt will definitely be cleared. Okay, so thank you and stay safe. This is all about chapter number 4 and also today's learning. See you soon with another learning video. Till then, bye-bye. Keep learning.